Hi, dear friends. This is a brief presentation for this year IFM conference, and this is what we as Ilaria Vecchi and Stefano Odorico conducting our research in Italy using 360 and VR for archaeology and museums. And so fundamentally, we're doing a 360 film on an archaeological site called Santa Lucia di Mendola that is located in the west area of Sicily between Syracuse and Noto. So if we want to start, thank you. As I said, the site is called Santa Lucia di Mendola and has become our case study for a number of reasons. Is an archaeological site, is located in Italy, and which is also where we both come from, and has a quite large production we've seen in the last few years. The project started last year, but because of a number of issues, amongst them climate change, last summer we were unable to begin to begin our project because of the heat wave. And so we had a number of issues, and because the site is in an area in the part of Sicily that is actually the hottest one, as you can see in the map here, where you have the red dot. It was quite difficult to reach, and so there were also a number of issues related to fires. As I said, however, the area is very rich in archaeological sites, not only Christian, like Santa Lucia di Mendola, but they're also like Greek sites, a number of temples, Greek temples dedicated to Artemis and Diana, and so they're still present there. And so often these sites are not only next to each other, but they're overlapping each other. So like in the case of Santa Lucia di Mendola, what we have discovered, but archaeologists have discovered, is that there are multiple sites on each of them are stratified fundamentally. And so because of this, the richness of the area, and also the interest, not only the archaeologists have obviously the time they've spent on the area, but also local people have begun collecting information, photographs, films, but also a lot of like 360 videos, especially some amateur archaeologists have begun using new technologies and have produced and collected, and also shared in blogs on the internet all this material. And so the idea from back then was to start some ethnographic work afar, for the reason also, some of the reason I've mentioned. And so in the last decades, well, the last 2 decades, more and more ethnographers and scholars have paid attention to the fact that digital ethnography is becoming a tool for collecting and studying phenomena, and this was our case because we were unable to go there, and so we began this work online, again researching blogs and looking at the communities that had produced photographs, videos, audio recording, anything, and then uploaded it online and began in a way, creating this sort of like a dialogue both between the member of this online community, but also with people like us that were interested in the place. And so the methodology that we used was, yes, on one side ethnography, because we also wanted to go, and in fact we have gone to visit the site and began our fieldwork there, physical fieldwork, but at the same time, we began also looking at these online communities. And so if on one side we are using ethnography as the ethnography, that the classic ethnography that all of us have probably used once for fieldworks or in general for research. On the other side, we combined also with sensory and digital ethnography. Again, like inspiring, taking inspiration from 𝗂𝘂𝗃 and Pink and similar scholars. Next one. The use, again, why using 360 video and VR? Well, the technology has obviously transformed, if you want, the life of both filmmakers and researchers, and then it's also something we can now use for narrating, but also relating or helping people in the general public, again, to get closer to archaeology and the findings that often we rescue during archaeological excavations. And so it becomes a new way to communicate with the public. An example is, again, the Pompeii VR experience. And so the VR brings to life and, if you want, helps the general public to get closer, but also immerse and get a new experience about these ancient findings that we thought were lost. And in a way, we have a lot of material, and this is also what we are working on during this project, a lot of material that is buried fundamentally in deposits and is almost as if it were still underground. And this is also why we have decided to use this approach, because all this material, in a way, is still invisible. And with a 360 and the VR, we can, again, give people the chance to maybe and eventually knowing more and better all the findings that have been rescued from these archaeological sites and are still stored in deposit, hoping, obviously, that also the Italian archaeologists and colleagues we have interviewed, they hope one day to either bring these findings outside from the deposit and then show them in museums, but in the meanwhile, VR and the 360 going into these places and showing what there is there, these fantastic treasures, then that could become the link between the general public and all this archaeological, material that is still there. And so again, it becomes a way to create a link and show what is there is invisible, but is present, so. Next slide. Yes, and so in this way, the VR becomes a way also to engage and give people the chance to experience all this history that, in a way, but is again locked behind closed doors in these deposits. But it's also a way for museums to then engage and hopefully then find a way to help people to reach, and that for themselves, to reach the public and show these findings. And it gives also flexibility, again, to create and customize, experiences and offer a different, a new experience to people when they come to museums. And again, what we're doing now is creating also through storytelling, creating a narration, creating a way for anyone, not only the people that are normally working with archaeology or history of art, to again access all this material that is behind closed doors.
So thank you, Ilaria. So our case study, as Ilaria just mentioned, is the site of Santa Lucia di Mendola in the southwest of Sicily. So together with the University of Catania, some colleagues from the University of Catania, we've been developing in the past year this project that, exactly as Ilaria mentioned, brings together archaeology with museums, but also VR with 360 filmmaking and interactivity. And what somehow links all these elements together is storytelling. You know, from the very beginning of the project, we wanted to have a story, to tell a story in kind of using contemporary technologies, using storytelling techniques, using documentary techniques, which is one of our main areas of research, together with these experts in archaeology, architecture, and history. And then, as Ilaria mentioned as well, this is this idea of what is visible and what is invisible. So what is visible there in Santa Lucia di Mendola is the site itself. What is almost invisible are all the findings, all the archaeological findings, these fragments. You can see an example of those here in the bottom left. They are kind of hidden in other places, in different kind of storerooms, in archives, in private properties, private collections, and all that. So the idea here is like to bring this back to the site, but also to make them talk, okay? So these fragments in our project tell a story. And we created the 3D models of these fragments, as you can see here in the picture. So in one situation, brings us into a journey, while the VR help us to navigate the space around the specific space, which is the site itself here. Obviously, 360 and VR that are quite widely accessible now. You know, they're way cheaper than what it used to be, and they're getting very, very popular even outside kind of the gaming industry. So we thought about this, about how to combine VR and 360, and also we thought about adding interactivity to this. So we came up with the idea of using 𝗏𝗏, which is an interactive storytelling tool for interactive storytelling kind of narratives, quite popular. It's a branching out kind of narrative model, as you can see here on the picture on the right here of the screen, and it helps you, you know, the user to connect all these islands of content, islands of media, of stories together in one single narrative, which is not linear anymore, but is non-linear. Okay, so again, this kind of different branches, different narratives. The model also works around the concept of polyphony, a project I've been developing with Judith Aston of University of West of England for quite some time now. So the idea here is like to bring multiple voices, perspectives in one single project. Okay, so that's exactly how, as Ilaria said, there are different people involved in here. Okay, so we have like interviews with experts in the fields. We are, you know, more interviews with people that live in the area, but also we make these fragments, these objects talk. Okay, so there is this kind of multiple voices, not only with the human side of the story itself, but also with the non-human, and hopefully with the post-human as well. So adding interactivity to VR and 360, because the software like 𝗏𝗏 allows us to do that, help us to, you know, to tell the story in a more kind of complex way, and again to bring these objects back to life in a way, to make them again accessible to a wider audience, not only locally as it is at the moment, but also nationally and internationally. The next steps. So we had several issues. Again, Ilaria mentioned earlier. We are kind of early stages of the project itself, of the development of the prototype. We're going to show you something in a couple of minutes. Early stages, but we already have a kind of a very kind of structured plan how to develop the project itself, and how to combine what I said earlier with archaeology. So the site itself, obviously, of Santa Lucia di Mendola, but also with museums, and how to bring these elements together in one single project. So connecting these elements with the past, through interactivity and VR will help us basically to create a project that not only puts everything geographically on a specific point in the map, but also to, as I said before, to just lead us in a journey that will end somehow in a space where we can all somehow connect with history in general. So not only, as I said before, not obviously only local history, but history that will apply to all of us internationally. So the idea is very simple. So now we started creating the interactive side of it using 360 storytelling. The next stage will be the creation of VR model. We'll bring in also this VR model will obviously bring all the objects, these fragments into the space, the virtual space itself. So the users, the viewers will initially be somehow led into the story, but then obviously in the second stage, when we move from the 360 to the actual VR experience, we kind of create the story ourselves. So there is this element of flexibility within the storytelling process. And then again, as I said before, multiple voices, multiple perspectives. So we can see the story, understand the story from multiple point of views, but also we can pick a specific point of view and go with that, okay? So there is a lot of kind of dynamic approaches there that we can apply. Now I will show you briefly how this works. Again, early stages of the prototype. This is an image of the site itself, of Santa Lucia di Mendola, 360. So it's an interactive platform, as I said, based on 𝗏𝗏 software. 𝗏𝗏 allows us to have multiple narratives, branching out structure. So at the bottom here, you can see 4 buttons. You can click on any of those. For example, clicking on the drone perspective, you can have a drone view of the site itself. So we click there. And here we are. The project leads us, again, this storytelling process into this view from the top. So we have a general idea how the site looks like, how large it is. And move briefly into the next one. So back to the menu. We can walk around the site with a 360 filmmaking experience. So this is the site. We are moving with the camera, obviously, but at the same time, we can move around in the space in 360. We go back. We have also a slideshow with different images, high quality images of the site itself, just to have a better idea how the site looks like, just the specific details, so the different elements of the old church, the old site, and where potentially the original fragments, the ones that we found and we modeled and found in archives and museums, as said before, were kind of positioned originally. So there is a vast number of pictures in here that you can watch and play with. Go back to and then the fourth element is an interview with the person. In this case, for the pilot here, the initial one is an interview with a local historian.
Ci troviamo precisamente a pochi chilometri dal comune di Palazzolo, pur essendo da un punto di vista amministrativo all'interno del comune di Noto. Notiamo immediatamente la presenza di una chiesa che è datata ai primi del Novecento. Ma a girare,
so we can look around, we can see how the site outside, we are outside the site here actually, and the landscape looks like, and we have the interview with the expert. Apologies, it's just in Italian, but the subtitle will be available very, very soon. So this is just a general idea how the project looks like. Obviously, it will be more complex very soon. And this is the first part, which is the interactive 360. And then from this, we will move into the VR room, the 3D model of a kind of a museum room where we can see all the fragments, and this fragment will talk back to us. So thank you very much.
Thank you.